Welcome to One Day in a Wake Up, a show about doing time, getting out, and where you are now. In prison slang, one day in a wake up means you're almost free. Just one more day before they walk you out the gate. So let's walk out together. One Day in a Wake Up on Colorado Radio for Justice.
I am Herb Lex, co-host here at One Day in the Wake Up, co-director here at CRJ, Colorado Radio for Justice. Directly to my left is my main man and 100 grand, my friend, my partner, colleague, also co-director here at CRJ, Seth Reddy.
Thanks for that, Herb. Yeah, partners in crime for sure, man. Good to be here with you and with everybody else, and with my new friend, Sean. I'll send it over to you.
Sean Mueller. I did 14 years in the Colorado Department of Corrections. I was there for securities fraud. I let my pride get ahead of my integrity, and I regretted that from the second I did it. And I spent the 14 years trying to correct the character traits that allowed me to make that mistake. And there wasn't a day that went by that I wasn't filled with remorse, knowing that I had to become a better person while I was in there, because I wanted just to prove that I was still worthwhile. I feel very fortunate to be here now. I am a student here at the University of Colorado, Denver in the communications department. Hope to graduate this summa cum laude. Been very fortunate. My road to CU Denver started with a strategic communication program that was given to us and delivered to us while I was inside. It was about a 2-year program. It was life-changing, to say the least, to sum it up. It changed all of our lives. It gave us a better mindset. We went through it. It made us better people. And honestly, college education is the only thing that I saw during my incarceration that actually changed people's lives for the better. And right now, there's a lot of budget talks going on in Washington. There's 3 things that I tell people whenever I'm talking about college educating prisoners, inmates: 95, 43, and 5. 95% of the people that are incarcerated are going to be coming back to the community eventually. Do you want them coming back to the community with the same skill set that sent them to prison? Or do you want them better prepared to get a job, be a better member of society? Then 43. 43% lower recidivism rates for people who get a college education while they're inside compared to people who don't. And then $5 saved for every $1 invested, educated, and an incarcerated individual in prison. So you invest $1, you save $5 of recidivism expenses. Everybody can understand that formula. So 95, 43, and 5. Can't put it any more succinct than that.
Very well put. Where were you released to? What community did you go back to? Was that Denver or?
So I was approved to go to Arapahoe community, and I was released to a halfway house there that I spent 6 months just acclimating back into society. I was going to school full time. That was considered my job because the community corrections house I was at recognized what an opportunity this was. I had a number of professors. I had letters for me saying, hey, he's one of the first guys to get out and actually continue to be down here on campus. We want to see this through. And I just did my part. They did their part. And here we are.
Wonderful. It sounds like you spent a good portion of that 14 years kind of planning for your one day in a wake up.
Yeah, it was definitely, you hear that old saying, overnight successes begin 10, 20 years before that. And that was definitely the case the night before. There's a lot of expectations you have for your life and a lot of things you want to do when you hit the ground. But one of the things that I had several friends tell me that had gone through the halfway process, they said, you're going to have to take it slow. You're going to have to be extremely patient because the people around you, half of them have not been incarcerated. They're coming here straight from community. They're still dealing with a lot of issues in their life. And they were spot on. That was the 6 months and halfway was probably harder than the 14 years I did in prison.
Wow.
Big wow.
do you want to talk about some of those difficulties?
Unfortunately,
was it
everybody's in a different spot in their life. you know, I don't want to say I enjoyed 14 years of prison because that's a horrible situation,
Facts.
but you make it, what you can just because that's where you are. The people that were in the halfway house, everybody's in their own spot. Everybody's going through their own timeline. And if they're not ready to change yet, you're not going to be able to force someone to change. But there's a lot of guys that are changing, and that's great to see their growth and development every day. And if you could share something with them, you see something that's going on or something that you went through, and you share those growth experiences with them, that's part of giving back and making sure people benefit from it.
Forgive me if you said this already. How long have you been on parole now?
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
2.5 weeks. 2 weeks and 2 days.
Okay, you're not counting though, right?
You are a newbie.
No, there's several hours in there too.
Yeah. What has been the most exciting thing of the past couple of weeks?
Sleeping in a bed, sleeping on a mattress.
All right.
That's been cool. Really, the nicest adjustment was having the time. Just if you want to go to a meal after school with a professor, something like that, or if you want to go to a coffee shop, or honestly, walking my family members' dogs, what a joy. Because I couldn't do that in a halfway house. Even when I had a pass to go to his house, you have to stay at the house. And the first time I went over there, he says, hey, let's take the dogs for a walk. And, I'm excited and I'm not thinking. And I go and we're in the driveway. And it dawned on me like, whoa, I can't leave this driveway. And I was like, hey, I can't go anywhere. And the dogs are looking at me like, hey, what's up with this dude? Let's go, man. We're going for a walk. And I was like, I can't go for the walk. I'll wait in the house. So walking the dogs, that's real freedom.
Another question we like to ask, what lessons have you learned that if you seen somebody just stepping out to the halfway house today, what would you impart after?
The same thing that was told to me was patience. You're going to have to use more patience in the halfway house than you did in prison, without a doubt, without question. And the reason for that is the people going into the halfway house haven't had the same experiences for the most part in prison. And if they did, it was usually only for like 6 months or maybe a year. That's usually not enough time for someone to actually change unless they were really motivated to change when they went in there. When you go into a prison and you're there for a few years, you're going to start to change just because the people that live there, some of them aren't going home, and they're forthright in their conversation with you on what they expect and how you're going to behave in there. Whereas when you get to the halfway house, there's a lot of energy, a lot of people dealing with addictive issues that are still ongoing. It's pretty difficult.
So patience.
Patience is definitely, if you can have patience there, that's going to serve you well. And not take it too fast. When you get to the halfway house, you're going to have all these plans. I'm going to go get this job and do this. I'm going to get a car and do this. You got a million plans. And the halfway house has different plans for you. They have a structure. They have a program in place, and they want you to do this. You might have to take drug and alcohol classes. You might have to take mindset classes, and all of those interfere with your schedule and the plans that you had. So patience and just taking things slow. Realize, hey, I'm still a DOC number here.
Yeah, such a push and pull in there.
Right. And that's, I earned my right to be there, good and bad. I earned the right to go to a halfway house to get out of a prison, but I also earned that, people just looking over at me and having to make sure I'm going to be safe in the community for myself, but also the community. I earned that, no matter how you slice it. We all earned it if you go through that. So it's just one of those things you still have to realize you're still proving yourself.
Very well said. Let's focus in right now on the night before you get out of the halfway house. Take us up to the night before, where you were heading out to, walk us out the gate.
So the night before, it was kind of like a day and a half long exit.
Okay.
Because I spent the day before I was leaving bringing most of my clothes over to a family member's house where I was going to be staying, just so I didn't have a ton of stuff with me. And, as I went back to the halfway house that night to sleep, I realized, hey, this is the last night I'm going to be here. Tomorrow is going to be a brand new story because I won't have, time limitations or restrictions and where I can go. If I want to go to a place to eat and then go for a walk after that, I can do that. And that was really true freedom compared to the halfway house. And so when you go to sleep that night, it's like, wow, all of the work you've done the last 14 years, this is coming to a point and you're getting out because of this work you've done. Then you start realizing, all of that work I did while I was incarcerated, there was a lot of remorse. I think the remorse for me was more of, I let a lot of people down that trusted me and I fractured my integrity. And that's what really upsets me the most. And using that fuel, and it was going to be difficult. And I knew pulling myself back from the ledge of that building that I was going to have to go through some massive changes. And one of those changes, I was going to have to just rebuild my integrity. That was that fuel, the pain that you caused to your victims, your family, all of that was fuel for that change. And so you can't let any of that, go away or dissipate just because you're leaving the halfway house and you're going out to parole freedom. You still have to remember that because you still have certain rules that you have to follow more than a typical citizen. I went 14 years without a write-up. Didn't get a write-up while I was in a halfway house. So we'll make the best of it.
You're a unicorn.
Well, again, it was the mindset. And I was super fortunate when I was inside. I got to meet some, really good people when I was inside that had already been doing the right things. Two people really stand out. I met them almost from the day one. One of them was Greg Bowers, great guy. He was a 7 Habits facilitator. He took the program. He's been teaching it now for, I want to say 15 years. And Greg, if it's been longer, I'm sorry. But a very solid person, showed me the ropes. And then David Carrillo, who was the superstar scholar from DOC. He was doing Life Without when I met him. We met when we were in the dog program together, training dogs. And, we talked about mindset almost from day one. He's also a 7 Habits facilitator. I took the program with those two guys as teachers, and it meant so much to me. And I immediately recognized how powerful it was that I was able to become one of the core group members myself. And that was really powerful to get to share that information, knowing that it was helping guys change and embrace like what they were supposed to be doing. So those two guys around me, and David and I were cellies for 12 years. We worked together in the dog program for a year. We talked about mindset every single day. I mean, whether it's for 10 minutes or 2 hours, that was a constant in almost every conversation we had. And so when you have those type of people around you, you're just affirming each other's positive choices. And if you make a negative choice, you're right there communicating thoughtfully and, with boundaries. Hey, this is what we need to be doing. This isn't you. Let's go back here. And thankfully, 3 of us hardly ever had to have those discussions.
Well put. You said you're a student here at CU. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. It's really my happy place. When I was inside, incarcerated, once we were offered the program through CU Denver, I knew this is exactly what I was looking for. I went to college a couple years at the traditional age, and it just wasn't for me. I was not in a good mindset. I didn't have any, drug or alcohol issues, but I wasn't grown up yet. I just wasn't in the right spot. And so I had been reading about business and the stock market since I was a teenager. And so I left school, saw an advertisement for a stockbroker position, went, interviewed, actually got the job because I had been reading about the market for so long that guys like, you have more education about this than the people coming in here with degrees. So I did that, did extremely well. just went after it. But the further I got into finance, the more I realized in my overall life, there was a gaping hole in my educational foundation because I had built up all of my education just on business and finance, but had nothing in psychology or philosophy or sociology. And that really became obvious to me. So as I was incarcerated and reading just a ton of books, I was just hoping to get a chance to get a college education. And eventually, CU Denver came and offered the program. And I just embraced that with both arms and both legs. I wasn't letting go.
What was the name of that program again?
It was the Strategic Communication Program. And even though it was based around communications, it really was a well-rounded program because one of the professors that, came in, he'd actually done 2 years of time himself and was familiar with what we're going through, our mindset, the changes, because he actually was released and the condition of his parole was that he got a college degree. And so he got the bachelor's and got a master's and then went on to get a PhD. And now he's a professor here at CU Denver. He's going to be involved in the college program. He's an incredible teacher. And the biggest thing that came out of that program for me is a paper he assigned for us. He wanted us, we were learning about identity formation that entire semester and then communicating those thoughts. He wanted us to basically just strip down our identity. How is this formed? And how did it have, any impact on your crime that you chose to do? And that was one of the most difficult experiences I've had in my life, let alone prison, because once you start analyzing those things and what went into making you to make those mistakes, you have some real problems if that doesn't affect you mentally, because it just breaks you down. I think everybody at different times admitted to, crying about different things, what they realized. Some of it, they didn't even realize, what was impacting them. And then once you're educated and you can start formulating what, made these foundational blocks, your foundation, it's like, wow, and that was like full circle for me. And thankfully I had embraced it, and it really just catapulted my growth even more.
Sounds like a very powerful program. And
it was incredible.
Yeah. Shout out to you, Denver, for creating that opportunity. And I'm certain there was more people impacted positively as you were.
Absolutely.
We talk about change a lot. And what do you think? Because not everybody is privy to college classes, and
right.
That's not even 1% of a chance of an option most of the time. So other than that, what do you think needs to be changed in there that you think can help people? Because I have an answer, and maybe I'll share my answer first. There's this lady, her name is Julie Rada, and I was in a play. All right. Don't tell anybody, but I was in a play.
I won't.
Anyways, we would have these check-ins, but she was talking one day and she said something that always stuck with me. She said that you can't make somebody change. There's nothing you can do to make somebody change. All you can do is allow them the space to go into, and then that's where they work on themselves. Because I was always, there was a time where I was finally given a space where I didn't have to put up with a tough guy act, where I didn't have to be, who I thought I had to be. I get in this space, I'm like, oh, and there's other like-minded people around me,
right,
that feel the same way. And I'm not just talking about chumps. I'm talking killers, major dudes.
Right.
And they're in there trying to change, because that safe place, that safe space was given to them.
Yeah, community, right? They formed a community. Guys saw each other behaving, saying, hey, it's safe for that guy to act that way. Maybe I'll try that. Look at how happy that guy is. Look at how peaceful he is. And he's growing. I want that. And that's when you see guys walking around with a smile on their face in prison. Everybody's wondering, what's that guy got going on? And then people start paying attention and they're like, wow, that's what he has going on. Yeah, I don't think college is the only avenue for people to succeed. It's just what I saw working from what it was right now. Lee Burrows is one of the administrators for DOC. When David Carrillo graduated with his MBA, she approached Adams State about, hey, how would you feel about him teaching a college class to other inmates while he's incarcerated and they're incarcerated? They thought it was a great idea. And so she took a leap of faith of doing this. And granted, he earned his right into that. He hadn't caused problems for a long, long time. He was a pillar of the community. He was looked up to. He had a lot of respect. That was a perfect person to do that. But now there's other people actually in line to do that same thing. So one person has pinpointed, hey, this person can do it. It grows into a few people, then it grows into a few more, and it just keeps on growing. College education is just one aspect of that. There's other things, like you mentioned, not everybody is ready to go to college or even want to go to college, but there's still skills that they can acquire, whether it's electrician or welders or mechanics. All of those are great paying jobs right now, and there's a huge shortage. I mean, if you try to get your car fixed right now, you have to make an appointment. It's like, my car is broken now. No, we don't have enough mechanics. So those are all jobs that, if somebody on the outside wants to take initiative and grow their own employees, they can go inside and start a program and start training and basically pick some really good guys with strong mindsets that would want to do this work. They just have to go and get it. Think outside the box like Lee Burrows did. David Carrillo was doing life without. He got an MBA and then became a professor. He got clemency from that and got out. And that was one of the happiest days of my life, is to watch him walk out of prison. That was incredible, and it was awesome. I mean, we're still happy every time we see each other. Just what a great moment that was. But that gives signs to the other guys. Hey, there's a shot out of here. Here's a path. Here's a redemptive path. I was the first person to benefit from House Bill 23-1037, which takes a year off your sentence if you're a nonviolent offender.
Mm-hmm.
Guys see that. People coming into prison don't have a GED. They're like, they hear these two stories and they're like, if I get a GED, I can get in these college classes and I can get the heck out of here. That's a road. That's a path. Here's a map. Here's GPS. Guys suddenly want an education that wanted nothing to do with school before. And they're embracing it, and they're realizing once they get in it, I'm actually changing my life. And their conversations with their family on the phone are suddenly way different than they were, just months before, because they're deep conversations. And, Dr. Stephen Hardnett was the one that actually brought the program to us. Huge influence. Megan Cosgrove was another professor in that program. Just incredible. It really was life-changing for everybody involved.
While you were locked up in prison, did you feel any different sense or perception of time? What it meant for you doing all that from day one to that 14th year?
It's interesting. Time, everybody looks at it a different way. And when you're given your sentence, you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? And you're going to do it the same way everybody else has in history. You're going to do it one day at a time. There's no other way to do it. You can't take a breath at any other moment than right now. There's several people have said it. You can't take a breath in the past. You can't take a breath in the future. You only can take it right now. So you have to concentrate on the right now. So when you're leading up to that point of release, you've set your foundation in place. You know who you are as a person. You know how you operate. It's like a car being designed. That car is designed to run to the store to get eggs, or it's designed for a trip to go across the country on a vacation or whatever. So you've done that work And so when you're the day before, when you're getting out, I've done this work. I know my car's in order. I've done the maintenance. I've done the overhaul. I'm going on a trip. And you're confident to take that journey. Now, how that translates for people and politicians looking at whether or not finance pays for educating or giving somebody job skills when they're inside. Imagine if you have that same car and you have the choice of taking it to a mechanic, which is going to cost a lot of money, or you can take it to a public storage unit and then come back in 10 years. Would you rather go to the mechanic where you paid to get that car repaired and fixed and know, hey, this car is going to work? What would your expectations be if you just simply warehoused that car for 10 years that it was broken? The car's still broke. I mean, unless you give that car, the maintenance it needs, the repairs it needs, it's not changing. So there has to be something in there to change the car, change the engine, change the mindset. College education is one way to do that. And every day that we're in the program in college education, every day you had to do the work and you had one assignment that you had to do. Even if you were writing a term paper, you still only could do your work in that particular day, and you tried to get your best out of yourself.
It's been a pleasure hearing your viewpoints and your journey.
Hey,
Appreciate it.
thanks for giving me the platform. Thanks for doing this work. You guys are awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, again for joining us here, bearing witness to this great conversation right here on One Day in the Wake Up. Again, I'm Herb Lex, my partner.
I'm Seth Reddy, a.k.a. DJ Reddy Red.
Sean Mueller.
Big Sean Mueller. Let's give it up for him, y'all.
Thanks, Sean.
To who it may concern, I'm at the point of no return. It took a couple round trips in order for me to learn, and I ain't never going back. Allow me to be exact. You let pain run its course till you're forced to adapt in the worst habitat. Speaking matter of fact, zigzagging through this maze with my brain still intact. Progress is the phase, the rest is just cap. What lurks after that? Fresh air don't care when you spent light years in a prison shifting gears with the friction and the tears, addictions in the rear. Model for your peers, that's the sum of all fears. This is not a hot take. One day in a wake till a steak on my plate. Kiss from my mate, life reanimate. Exist to be great, let your thoughts elevate. Bend but don't break, cause your past and your future can no longer correlate.
One Day in a Wake Up is a production of Colorado Radio for Justice. Check out CRJ at radioforjustice.org and across social media at Radio for Justice. This episode of One Day in a Wake Up was produced by Herbert Alexander, along with Taylor Hanson, Ryan Conroe, and Seth Reddy. They are also the executive producer team for this show. The theme music is by Herbert Alexander. This is One Day in a Wake Up.